All right, welcome everyone to a special episode of Book Talk on BookTalk. We're going to be joined by someone from across the Atlantic Ocean over in Great Britain, so that's going to be really fun. And obviously, we're on a different day than we normally are, but whenever you're scheduling international folks, that's kind of the way you have to do it. But we are so glad we are going to be joined by Elena Jaynes, and she writes urban fantasy romance. And her she started her 5 book series last year, and her newest novel is out for pre-order. So we'll get to be talking about all of that stuff. I have to admit that it's the end of a long week here for me, so I apologize if I'm not quite as energetic as usual. But I've been told that Elena is a firecracker and that she is going to hopefully be able to carry me a little bit today. Although it is midnight for her over there in England, so I'm keeping her up a little late, which means we probably won't go as long as we usually do. But that's going to be all right because she, like I said, she's going to be carrying the show a little bit. I think she should be joining here pretty soon. She let me know that she is ready, and I may go ahead and uh, see if I can invite her. I don't think she's quite. Nah, she's not available yet for me to invite, but she'll be here soon. Uh, I did. I had a busy day yesterday. We went had some book events for Blue Handle Publishing. We had a book event at our local bookstore, Brewing Owl, and we had a pop up sale at a local coffee shop slash bar called Palace Coffee, and there's a place called Royal Bar inside. So that was pretty fun. That was a few hours, but we got a lot of good traffic in there because it's a coffee shop, so a lot of people interested in writing and books and all that. And then some people from the bar just wandered in and they had a good time. And we partnered with somebody who sells homemade like beauty products, soaps and lotions and stuff like that. So that was, we got some of their traffic, which is always nice. And when small businesses, because that's what our publishing company is, it's a small business. Whenever whenever they can partner up like that, that's always a good thing. Let's see. I'm gonna message Elena and see if and let her know that I'm live. To join. All right. So hopefully she'll be joining soon. I also bought a new book yesterday. I hadn't bought a new book in a while, but I bought Hellbent by Lee Bardugo, which is the sequel to Ninth House, which I absolutely loved. And so I went ahead, and even though I kind of had been on a bit of a book buying ban, trying to read some of the stuff. There's Elena. So I invited her, so she'll be here in a second.
Hello.
Hey, how are you
Hang on.
doing?
Not too bad, not too bad. How are you?
I'm doing all right. I was telling everybody that it's a uh, been a long week for me, and yesterday I was working. We had book events for the publishing company I work for from 2 o'clock straight through till about 10 o'clock last night. So
Oh,
it's been a long week for me. So I'm not as energetic as usual. So you're gonna have to really carry the show. So congratulations. You didn't know that, but you. No, I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
it's
Um,
midnight here, right?
yeah, no, exactly. Yeah, and it's only 6 o'clock here, so like I definitely should not be feeling tired already. But it is what it is, and it's my second show of the week, and people can't ever tell, and they don't ever know this unless I say it. But I actually get nervous before I go on camera for anything. So it's a little bit. I'm kind of a natural introvert, as a writer. So yeah, definitely it's
Yeah.
getting on camera is a little bit taxing and going live. Tanya, the executive producer, wonderful person, is uh, down in the comments now, and she'll be helping answer any questions and looking up facts for me if I get them wrong. And she says she's late, but she's actually right on time. I always start a little early because I'm a punctual guy, and I just can't ever seem to wait until it's actually time for me to go live. And plus, I think that helps a few people find us, so that we have a little bit of an audience going by the time we get started. But
Fantastic.
and you your name's pronounced Elena Jaynes, is that correct?
Yes, that's correct. Yeah.
I don't think I could make up a better name for a fictional character. I love it.
It is actually a pen name. So
Okay, there you go. That was that you answered the question before I asked it,
yeah,
because that's definitely a very good one.
thank
So
you.
if I did my research correct, you started your urban fantasy romance series last year, and book five
Yeah.
is now up for pre-order on Amazon in the
Yes.
UK. Is that right?
Yes, that is correct. It's also on .com as well.
Gotcha. And so, it's a pretty rapid release schedule. Did you have most of at least the first few books written and then you release them on a schedule, or are you just a really fast writer and you are writing them as you go and releasing them?
The first two were written before I published. They were actually written about 5 or 6 years before I actually had the courage to publish
Oh,
them.
wow.
They were initially just written for myself. And after a couple of friends read them, they're like, you need to release these. And I thought, you know what? I'm just going to give it a go. I'm going to see how I get on. And I released them. And after that, I've been writing. Probably takes me about 4 or 5 months to get one written and edited. So I use
Okay,
the
so
pre-order time to get the next book started.
yeah, so that's a very reasonable too quick time to write a full novel. I mean, definitely. I've written them faster and shorter than that, but that's probably about the average, and it all depends on what you go have going on in your life. I know that you're a mother, so we have a lot
Yeah.
of parents that come on the show, and that obviously takes up a lot of your time, and I don't get to use that for a reason whenever I'm feel like I'm writing slow. So, but I definitely understand it for those of you who have kids.
Yeah.
What is your sort of writing schedule like? How do you when do you write? Whenever because you
I
have a massive block of
yeah.
time whenever you're dealing with your real life, obviously.
Yeah. I try and do as much as I can 9 to 3 whilst the children are at school. That's sort of my main writing area, and I can literally sit down and just write during those times. But one of my children has autism, so sometimes I'll get called to pick him up from school, or he'll have appointments, and I just try and fit it around that as best as I can. And then again, once they've gone to bed, if I'm not doing anything, I will hop on and just do a little bit more. So I try and work as close to full-time hours, but around them.
Well, good. That a lot of our parents who come on here find have to find time at really early or really late at night, but that's actually a pretty normal writer schedule. So good that you're able to do that. That's definitely probably an easier way to go about it than having to wake up at 4 in the morning or stay up until 2
Yeah.
a.m. writing.
Yeah, I decided that because I'm a carer for my son, I need to be available. And it's really hard to get a job when you are needed to be in different places for appointments and meetings at school and all sorts of things like that. So I just thought, you know what, if I'm going to do this, I'm really going to try for it. And so I've tried to throw myself into it full time. Um, and it gets me out of my own head a little bit as well. So it helps me as
Yeah.
well.
Oh yeah, no, that's why a lot of writers do what we do. When did you first realize that you had a passion for writing fiction, and how did you go about um, discovering the stories that you write in the genre that you write in?
I have a very vivid imagination. I also catastrophize a lot. So I found that from quite a young age that I would use writing as a way to kind of work through everything that was going on in my brain, because I always go at 100 miles an hour. So I found out quite young. I mean, in primary school, the teachers told my parents I had no imagination, um, which clearly they got wrong. But come
Yeah.
high school, I started writing for myself. And then it got to the stage where actually I decided I wanted to go down a different path. I wanted to be an actress. And I had auditions for different local soaps and things like that. But that never seemed to go anywhere. And then I rediscovered my love of writing. And over the sort of past 10, 15 years, I've been writing, and I've got these manuscripts just stuck on my computer that I need to go through and kind of rewrite and touch them up and hopefully get them out. So I have been writing for a really long time. I just haven't had the confidence in myself to actually publish anything until last year.
And you know that that's one thing that a lot of artists, you know, that they just have to reach that point. Do you remember? Was there a moment whenever you realized that that yes, I do feel like you know I should put this out there and should put it up for sale, and that it is, you know, because essentially what you're saying is that my writing and my art is worth a monetary value, and I'm going to ask people to pay, you know, in order to read it. Was there a moment whenever that happened for you?
Um, yeah, it was beginning of last year. I had this manuscript. One of my friends moved in nearby, and I realised that she had the same passion for books as me. And I said to her, "Well, I've written this book that fits into exactly what the sort of things you like. Would you like to have a read of it?" So she had a read. She came back to me. She was like, "This is really good," but I still was so nervous in myself that I actually put it up on like a free reading site for a bit.
Mhm.
And I got so much positive feedback, so many comments, and people telling me how much they enjoyed it. And I thought, you know what? I could give this a go and I could try and make something from this. And I thought,
Mhm.
you know what? I'm going to just put it up there. I'm going to bite the bullet. I'm going to do it. And so I decided at that point that I was going to publish it.
You know, getting that positive feedback. Whenever I say it, I always feel like I sound uh, more insecure than I am. But you know, that can be important. Like some people, I think, are, and some writers, not a lot of them, are kind of born with that sort of security in themselves and that belief. But I think more, you know, we do this thing, and you do it in solitary because you know most people don't write with a partner or anything, and you think it's good, but you know there's a lot of times in the back of your mind it's like nobody else is even gonna you know appreciate this, or you know you think you know I'm a little different than most people, so what I have to say and what I'm writing isn't going to resonate, and it takes some people telling you no, this is a good enough quality. It is something I can picture myself picking up at a bookstore or a library. And you know, I think there's sometimes a stigma to writers saying that yes, you know, getting that positive feedback is part of what you know allows me to keep going and keep creating and keep believing that you know I should kind of put my stuff out there. And I think that you know that's an interesting conversation that you know writers should be like, no, we definitely acknowledge and embrace whenever that happens. And I tell writers that they need to celebrate those little wins when somebody gives you that positive feedback, when you get nominated or win you know a writing contest, whenever you write a short story that gets accepted for publication, that sort of thing. And celebrating those little wins can be very motivational. um, did you know you know I talked earlier about you know you have kind of a rapid release schedule that you did. Did you research that and decide that's how you wanted to go, or what went into your decision to release those first few books so fast and to keep you know going and doing that?
I think in hindsight, I jumped in head first, way over my head with not enough information. I literally just I knew that if I did all this research, I was gonna bottle out and I was gonna lose my nerve, and I was just like, no, I'm gonna do it. In hindsight, I think it would have been better if I'd have left myself a bigger gap between book one and book two coming out, even though they were both ready, just to alleviate a bit of that pressure. But I find if I give myself a deadline, and that helps me to push through um, and get it done, which really helps. But I did literally just jump in head first and go, here we go, let's see what happens. But
Well,
I've
and
learned
you
a
know,
lot by doing that. So
Exactly. I was going to say there's nothing wrong with that, and most people learn best by doing. I don't know if they have this phrase over where you are, but we call it on the job training. It's you start doing something, you
Yeah,
start the job, and then you figure out how everything works as you go because there's no real time to. I don't want to take 6 months and do all this research and develop a game plan and publishing has come to a point where people can do that and they can find success as they're going, and that's a great way for a lot of authors to get experience in publishing and in books and figure out what they're doing and have
yeah,
a longer career rather than waiting years and years to have a publisher agree to publish and all that stuff. And
yeah,
both models are coexisting right now, and I think it's great.
yeah,
So let's talk a little bit specifically about your books.
yeah.
You obviously, every author, has characters they love to write. What is your favorite character to write? And talk a little bit about what your stories are about.
Okay, so I've actually got them, not that you can see them very well, but they are up
Mm-hmm.
behind me. I really like strong female characters. I do have touched on some dark themes in my books, which is something that I've used my writing for, is to help me work through things that I've been through, things that, like, as I've mentioned before, my brain just is on the go all the time, so it helps me with that. So Rain has been one of my favorite characters that I've started. Um, she's strong, she's tough, she doesn't need a man to carry her through. She can do it. And she's fierce enough to stand up to these five ancient beings that she ends up with. So it is dark. There is trigger warnings with it. But I always struggle when someone asks what my book's about. I always just kind of go, oh, I don't
Well, I
know.
guess I'll give you a primer. As I was reading the descriptions and by the titles, we can obviously tell that there are werewolves and other of those sort of
Yes,
supernatural beings. So you talked
yes.
about five ancient beings. Are those five? Do they come from that sort of monster folklore, or what is your world that you've built with this series?
I have kind of tried to take my own sort of spin on these beings. For example, vampire. There's the Vampire King is one of the main characters. He's not. He doesn't drink human blood. He's not this blood-sucking monster that is stereotypical for vampires. There's Rain herself is a shifter, but also part goddess. So again, I haven't really based it on your stereotypical werewolf,
Mm-hmm.
um, but she can turn into a wolf at will, which again is, I guess, is quite stereotypical in some of these fantasy books that are available at the moment. And then you have Fae in there. There's one character that is an ancient Fae, which I've tried to sort of, with each book, you get introduced more to one of the main five males. And she has her own interactions, finding out a bit more about them in each of the books, um, which was really fun to do. Um, so you've also got demons thrown in there. In the first book, she ends up in the demon realm. So
Oh, nice.
there's a bit of everything in there, hopefully for everybody.
I was talking with one of our authors, Jordan
But,
Reed, for Blue
sorry, I
Handle
just had a sip
Publishing.
of my coffee. I'm really tired.
No, no, that's all right. I always have some sort of soft drink, usually a Pepsi with me. So yeah, like I said, you're late over there, and I don't know, maybe some of the new people didn't hear you. It's what 12:15 a.m. over there. So yeah, you're staying up late. We're on a little earlier than usual, but I'm tired nonetheless, even though I have no real excuse other than I just oh oh no, did her live drop? It looks like Elena's uh, connection was lost. So we'll um, see if she comes back. Let's see. Let me re-invite her. Maybe that'll. There we go. Okay. Yeah. Yeah, she was still there. I guess just something happened with her connection with her camera.
Right, there we go. Sorry. It
No,
just
no,
all
it's
of
all
a
right.
sudden went connection to host lost and I was shut out.
Yeah, it's we're dealing with technology. It's pretty easy to use, but it's still fallible. What I was saying is that so his novels are a mixture of like a hard-boiled detective, and he's created a fantasy world. And we were talking actually last night at an event where we were selling our books, and he the first one he
I'm
has
really
golf.
sorry. Everything's really echoing over here. I can't hear it. Keeps repeating the same thing you said.
Oh no. Are you, let's see, are you wearing headphones or are you just listening through
No,
your phone?
just listening through my phone. I'm wondering if I grab my headphones a minute, see if that helps.
Okay, yeah, we can
Sorry.
go ahead and try that. Yeah, we love the TikTok technology on here, and really it is pretty good. I mean, it's I used to do these lives on Zoom, and it's essentially the same sort of problems and hiccups that you come across. Let's see, is your connection all right? Looks like she's still waiting for the headphones to.
Oh, sorry, I'm having problems. It's not pairing. Bear with me.
Oh, that's all right. That's all right. Um, of course, you should have seen me the first time I tried to go live on TikTok. It was. Should have seen me the first time I tried to go live. Oh, I heard myself. Should have seen me the first time I tried
Right, they're not working.
to go. Are you still getting a really bad echo?
Headphone. Oh, hang on, go on. Yeah, I'm hearing myself talking over you.
I wonder why that would just happen all of a sudden. And see, now I can't hear you. I don't know if you can hear me.
Okay. Now.
Okay, I can hear you now. Are you still getting an echo from me though?
Yeah, see, I don't know what happens with my headphones. As soon as I put them in, no one can hear me.
Hmm.
Yes, yeah.
Well, do you think you're going to be able to keep talking, or do you want to maybe try to like disconnect and then try to connect again?
Um, I might try and disconnect and reconnect because it's just replaying our voices over and over. So if I disconnect and then try and come back into you
Okay, that sounds good.
and see if that works. All right.
All right, so we'll yeah, so she's gonna see and try to reconnect again. So we'll wait. It should tell me whenever she goes live again and ask me to invite her. So that might take a minute. I'll finish up the thought that I was talking about is that um, he he did a little a different take. Tanya, no, I have not been able to research a new background for my live. It does not bother me nearly as much as it bothers you, and you are literally the only one who's commented on it. So that will maybe happen this weekend. We will see. So I'm going to invite Elena again, and I don't even know what a raton is. You keep using that word, and it means nothing to me.
Hello, I'm back.
Uh, all right. So how does my sound? How do I sound on your end?
Perfect, perfect.
Okay. Yeah, no, that's a weird little glitch. First time it's happened. First time it's happened for me. So we will see. So what I was saying is that he in his first book, he kind of introduced a werewolf type of being and didn't call it a werewolf, but it was we kind of wove it in there, and it was pretty obvious by the end. And so this time he's going to introduce a different sort of monster, not one of the ones that you're using, but
Yeah.
another classic one that he's really interested in. And he was asking me, I want to do this different thing and put this little twist on it and stuff. And he's like, "Is that okay?" And I'm like, "I think people really enjoy that whenever they see representation of those sort of beings." But the author has a different take on it. Messes with the canon enough
Yeah.
to make it interesting, to where they're not just reading another vampire novel, another werewolf novel. And I think that because we have more authors that are using those type of characters and beings, that it's really nice and refreshing when we get to read a different take on that kind of stuff. Did you do that
Yeah.
intentionally, or is that just what your imagination did and you just kind of went with it?
It's a little bit of both. I do agree that absolutely there are so many fantasy books out there that do have werewolves or shifters and vampires and fae and things like that. I personally enjoy reading books where there's different takes, and I've read some books where I thought actually that's a really good take on this creature. So in my mind, as I was writing, I was had that in the back of my mind, but generally when I'm writing, it's almost like I see a movie in my head and my fingers just translate it onto paper for me.
Excellent. And I was talking to Jordan last night too. The only two monsters that really interest me, in terms of their lore, are vampires, because they're very romantic, and they're very sort of Southern Gothic, which is kind of a read that I like anyway. And
Yeah,
the other one is Frankenstein's monster, because it is dealing
yeah,
with a lot of really big themes about immortality, about reanimation, about what is life, what is a soul, and what is the purpose of, if you have life, what are you trying to do with it? And so
yeah,
when they can touch on those larger themes, I think that it makes it a lot more interesting for some of us. Um,
yeah,
so Tanya has a really interesting question for you. What are some
yeah.
of the biggest difficulties you had when writing your book? Because you talked about how you had been writing for a long time, and you had been developing these stories. Did you have anything that you struggled through as you were trying to get them ready, especially when you were getting them ready for publication?
Yeah, I think one of the main things was my own mind, giving myself the trying to get over the doubt, the self-doubt and the not believing that I could do this. I think that was probably one of my biggest hurdles. The other one is the editing side. I can't afford to have an editor at the moment, so I'm doing everything myself. So trying that was probably one of my biggest hurdles, was trying to get through um, and try and figure out how I could edit to the best of my ability with the budget that I have.
And that's just about every writer. And sometimes there's two different ways you can go about and do it. Do it well and not well. So some writers, they don't want to do revisions. They want to get to the end, and then they just want to give it to somebody else to proofread. And of course, the author should always go through and revise it themselves a couple times. And then there are the people who go through and they try to edit it, six, seven, eight, nine times, and they over edit, and then they get sort of paralyzed by wondering, is it ready?
Yeah,
Is it perfect? So, to strike that balance is definitely not easy. And as
yeah,
somebody who who edits books both for a publishing company and helps other authors if they're not going to be published with us, like, yeah, editing, good editing is an expense. And
yeah,
when you publish, you are signing up for running your own small business, and a lot of it depends on how much capital do you have to
yeah,
spend in the beginning. And then hopefully through whatever marketing you do, and we'll talk about that here in a minute. A
yeah,
lot of authors are able to build up and get sales off of their books, and then reinvest that into the book business, and get editing and that sort of stuff. But yeah,
yeah,
it's an interesting shift to go from being the writer and the creator of these stories, and then if you're going to independently publish, to put on your business hat and do that other piece of it. I did want to
Yeah.
ask one thing. It looks like you, at least book one, has been turned into an audiobook. So,
Yes.
tell us about how that process went for you, because we talk to a lot of voice actors on here, and I always love the different ways that the author and the voice actor connect, and how that process works of turning it into that finished audiobook product.
Yeah, I mean, I went completely through ACX with Amazon. So once I was ready, I put an audition out there and I had auditions coming in. And I could listen through, I had to submit like an excerpt from the book that I wanted them to read. So I tried to kind of find a bit in the book that covered the different types of scenes. My books have smut in them, so I wanted a little bit of that, but a little bit of the action at the same time.
Mm-hmm.
And then once I found the narrator that I thought was right for me, I contacted them again with my budget being what it was. I ended up doing a royalty share. So I get my royalties, but she gets half of what I get, which isn't necessarily ideal in the long run. But when you haven't got much of a budget there, you do what you need to. And she's been fantastic. She's currently working on the second audiobook now. So that will hopefully be coming out beginning of March. So and she's going to work through the whole series for me.
Oh,
Um,
that's excellent. That's great.
yeah, because
Who is your narrator, and how did you? And you mentioned you went through ACX. Did you do a lot of different auditions, or what is it about your narrator that you really latched onto, that you decided that's the person I want to read my books?
well, her name's Cassandra Terry, and I received several auditions, and I listened through, and it was very much little things. I mean, I had some great auditions, and again, it was very little subtle differences between the two, between people, the accents, the way they pronounce certain words. I'm quite an emotional person. I can be, when I talk, sometimes I can get very exaggerated, and that's kind of how I pictured Rain to be. And so when I heard Cassandra do this audition, she just she's a voice actor. So actually she had a bit more, probably a bit more emotion than what audiobooks normally have, but that to me is what I was looking for. So once I had my auditions, I just contacted her, and then ACX are brilliant. They do up a whole contract that covers and protects me, but it also protects her as well. There is some very strict rules, which again is to protect both me and to protect Cassandra. Now that I've got her doing my first book, with the second book, I didn't even need to go through the audition process. I could just send my request straight to her, which was really
Oh,
good.
good. That is really good. And we've talked about how most audiobook listeners really like it whenever, if they start on book one of a series with a certain voice actor, they want that same actor to stay through the whole series. So that's really great that you are going to be able to do that. The other thing that most indie authors have to outsource are their covers, and
Yeah.
some are better than others, but yours are fantastic, and they really capture
Thank you.
everything about your genre, and they're really really flashy. Who does your covers, and how did you go about finding that person?
Okay, so I have a lady called Olivia. I'm sorry, I don't know Olivia's surname, but she does my book covers. I actually found her on a site called Fiverr, which
Okay,
is
yeah.
really good. They don't just do book covers. You can find so much on there in regards to not just books, but all sorts of different media. But with books, she doesn't just do books. She does, the next thing I'm going to get is some nice fancy title pages made up from her, which is something new that she started doing. But depending sort of where your budget is, I mean, the book covers that she designed for me, which I agree, I absolutely love them, were sort of the lower budget end of the book covers. So with now that my books are starting to bring in some money for me, I'm going to put some of that money into marketing, and some of that money I'm going to put towards book covers. And as we touched on, editing as well, my hope is that I can get to the point where I can then have someone to edit for me. And she does her own artwork covers as well, which I hope to get to the point where I can get some of her artwork covers, because I think considering what she did for these, and these are the low budget ones, that the proper ones would be fantastic.
Yeah, 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 I definitely would not have imagined that those were not sort of a premium cover being done by the cover artist. So
Yeah.
that's really great. We have my boss Charles D'Amico has been sending some gifts, so we love that, Charles. Thank you so very very much.
Thank you.
And you know the 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 markets obviously are going to be a little bit different between the United States and over there where you are. And by the way, where specifically are you located? I know I said England and Great Britain, but I
Yeah.
probably even got that wrong. So why don't you let us know where you're
So,
actually coming
um,
to us from?
I'm in Somerset, which is sort of down in the southwest. So I'm not right
Of
at the
England?
bottom, but I'm pretty far down.
Okay, okay, gotcha. And I try to, always brush up on the geography of whenever we have our international guests, which we absolutely love having. But I'm always worried that I'm going to get something wrong because, like, I'm broadcasting from Amarillo, Texas, and most people know of Texas and kind of where it is on the U.S. map. But
Yeah.
you can. There are like six or seven different specific regions within the state, and so we're in the Panhandle, and then some people might say, "Oh, well, that's West Texas." And then, like, because I worked at the newspaper up here, like I know the specific regions as dictated by the U.S. Census, but then also by the U.S. Geological Association,
Yeah.
and all these different ways to break it up. So I definitely know that people can get very specific about where they are and what region they're in. So thank you for making sure that you let us know exactly where you're coming from. Whenever you set out to write these novels or publish them, did you think about which stories would resonate in which markets and how you were going to try to get them to those different markets?
I certainly gave it as much as I could, trying to look into things like that. But it's really difficult. I think I found there was either not enough information or there was such an overwhelming amount of
Mm-hmm.
information that trying to pick through and find specifically what was going to work for me. So I've kind of, again, this is such a big learning curve that I've been on. Um, so I'm learning as I go along. Unfortunately, with Amazon, I can't use Amazon ads because I have Smart in my books, so they won't promote them,
Mm-hmm. Wow, I
which
didn't
is
know
a bit
that.
of a no, it's a bit of a shame. Yeah, if it's got adult content in it, you cannot use Amazon ads, which is a really big shame. It's such a knockback. But I found I'm quite an introvert. I get very shy and very anxious. If I know someone, I can talk their ear off. But if I don't, I can be really shy. And so I found TikTok has been really difficult for me, but it's helping me to bring me out of my shell. But I've also done a lot of advertising on Facebook ads has been fantastic for me since I've started using Facebook ads. I've seen such a difference in my sales and my productivity. So at the moment, I'm getting to the point where they've now brought it out where you can run continuous ads,
Mm-hmm.
which is also really helpful because it was something you couldn't do before. You could run it for a sort of 5 to 7 days. And again, with now bringing in a bit more money, it means I can put a bit more into the advertising. Um, the one to watch out for is that TikTok catches me out and I'll come on just to make a few TikToks and then end up spending 2 hours browsing through TikTok. So
Yeah. So I wonder. Do you know the basic definition of how they come up with the adult content versus what a lot of people, especially over here in the U.S., would call like a spicy romance? Do they how do they differentiate that? Because I can't imagine that is such a subjective barrier to have to be able to advertise a product that you're selling on their site.
I'm not 100% sure, but I think what it is that when you're going to publish your book on KDP, it asks you if there's scenes that are explicit. So because it's got sex scenes in, I had to put that it was explicit, and therefore it ruled me out. Either that, or maybe I mean, to be fair, the other day I found The Wolf King's Goddess ranked 27 in the urban erotica list. So I'm not sure how I got in there, but somehow I did. So, I mean, I had to put down categories that I felt my book fell under, which I put
Hmm.
down urban fantasy and dark fantasy, and they've thrown me automatically in with the erotica books. So I'm not quite sure whether they have someone that reads through them and
Hmm.
further categorizes them. I'm not sure how it works, but they knew.
Well, congratulations on the rank. That's excellent. That it's there's definitely, and I don't know if you use it now, but there are definitely tools where you can look up and see what ranks kind of are right for breaking into and having a good number, like the Kindlepreneur type of stuff. So I know we use that, and some of our authors do. And whenever you start generating even more money, that's something to look into because getting a high ranking in those categories. It's definitely something that you can use and a free way to put that back into your marketing. I like, you were
Absolutely.
talking about how you talk someone's ear off if you know them, but you're shy otherwise, and how TikTok is helping you bring you out of your shell. And that I feel that a lot. Like that is definitely that describes me too. Um,
Yeah.
and I whenever I'm in, if I'm expected to be in front of people, and I've developed this, if I have a scheduled live that I'm going to do, I'm able to sort of compartmentalize and become that person that can do that. But definitely, like in my real life, I'm the guy over there in the corner, and until I'm engaged or until I find somebody that I know really well, it's tough like
Yeah.
that. And I think a lot of authors are like that, and it makes the marketing and us talking about our books a little bit tough. What sort of stuff have you found that you like doing and that works for you in terms of marketing your book that maybe some of us out there who kind of struggle with those same kind of shyness can work into our own marketing campaigns?
Yeah, I think I found one way that I've gone about advertising my book and I do this via Instagram, via Facebook, via TikTok, is that I create videos with music that have images that represents what happens in my book, or sometimes it will have quotes from my book, and I don't need to be in that video. It's purely imagery. And words. And I found that's really helped me. And they seem to be quite popular. They're some of the more popular posts that I have are like that. Um, so it means that I don't always have to be in front of the camera and speaking, because I will take 50, 60 takes to do a little video because I'll stumble over my words. I did post one video where I hit myself in the side of the face with my book, so,
I
which was
can see
really
myself
popular,
doing
believe it
that.
or
Yeah.
not.
um,
My kids saw it, thought it was hilarious, and were like, "Mum, you have to post it." So I thought, "All right, fine, I'll do it." So there is a video of me smacking myself in the side of the face. Um,
well,
but
we're all gonna have to go look that one up now. You're gonna get a lot more likes and views on that one now, I think. I
yeah,
definitely started out, not being on camera, and some of my most popular early posts were me taking popular phrases, and I have a tablet. It's called a Remarkable, where you can write on it. That I got through Charles and my job, and I use it every day, and it's my main e-reader. But I would go on there, and I would draw on it and edit and circle stuff, and then I would cut up the video to where it went more quickly, and the stuff was kind of funny. And so that's were my first posts, and I didn't want to be on camera. And then I was encouraged to do a few and go ahead and speak about stuff, and give
yeah,
advice on writing and what I was reading. And then TikTok decided that it liked it whenever I did that, and so now if I want to get exposure on my posts, I have to be a talking head and talk about
yeah,
writing or ask questions, because I was a reporter for a long time, so asking questions, interesting questions is kind of in my nature. So
yeah,
TikTok decided that that's what it wants me to do. So now, I have to come up with that kind of stuff, and I definitely got away from it a little bit. Trying to catch up after the holidays with a lot of stuff, but I'm finally in a place where starting next week, I'm going to have a window where I'm going to start filming a lot and start, coming up with those ideas and everything. But yeah,
yeah.
like mastering the social media stuff is not easy, and like it's the
No,
free advertising that you can get. You don't have to spend money, but you're spending time,
absolutely.
right? And so sometimes it comes down to, like, again, thinking about about it as a small business, how much is your time worth? Because if you're spending 3 hours a day trying to come up with really engaging social media stuff and you're not getting traction, well, that's
Yeah,
also, whoa, that gift had like sounds. That was cool.
that was cool.
Yeah, wow. Harper Riley, thank you so much for that. That the a diving whale. That's I'd never
That was
seen
pretty cool.
one of those before. So thank you. We try to always acknowledge when people are giving us gifts on here. It's a little bit easier today. We're at a different time, and I can see a lot of that stuff. So I know that Tanya's been sending us stuff. Definitely want to thank Harper Riley on that. Whenever
Yeah.
we really get going, sometimes they'll slip through the cracks. So, if you ever send us gifts and I haven't called you up by name, I apologize. And I wanted to ask you, I wasn't clear on this. Have you done a lot of live stuff on TikTok, or is this one of your first times? Like, what's your experience been doing that?
I have done two practice runs before today.
Gotcha.
Once I knew I was coming on here, my nerves got the better of me, and I thought, no, do you know what? I'm going to do it. So I have done two lives, sort of just running up to this. One was literally where I was sat and doing some of my writing. I always find it fascinating when I watch other people in their creative space doing what they
Mm-hmm.
do.
Me
So I
too.
thought, you know what, I'm going to do that. So I did one live where I was doing that. But I think that potentially my timing was a bit bad. I did it in the morning for me, and I have quite a few followers that are actually in the States. So maybe I should have done it a bit later in the day. And then I just did a live where I went on and just had a chat and tried to talk books, smut, and coffee.
Oh, I'd like that. You could start your own show. That's a great title, Book Smut and Coffee. I like that. I like that a lot. Finding the best times is difficult. Like whenever I was doing this on Zoom for one of the parts of the job that I have with Blue Handle and Book Puma. Wednesdays and at 7 p.m. Central just seem to work out really well, and it's translated to TikTok now. I'm obviously in the U.S., so I don't have any good advice for when would be a good time for you, but that definitely makes a difference. Like it makes a difference tonight. We're just now
Yeah,
getting to where people might be coming on, but it's also Friday, so a lot of book talkers probably are staying in, but a lot are probably going out and doing something, for the weekend. So
yeah,
that's kind of why we chose Wednesdays, middle of the week. It's kind of it's hump day. There's it's not
yeah,
Taco Tuesday and it's not the weekend. So people are usually kind of indoors and just kind of
yeah,
going about trying to get through another week. Um, so yeah, there's definitely stuff that goes into that. And like
yeah,
you, I definitely was like. Whenever going live became part of what we wanted to do for work, I was forced is not the right word because my boss is on here, so I won't say forced, but yeah, like it was definitely something new for me, and I had to kind of be nudged and pushed a little bit,
yeah,
and now I've been doing this on TikTok for however many weeks it's been with me and Tanya. And the first time, I said I want to go live on TikTok because I had been doing it on Zoom and things changed up a little bit on our approach at work, and so I said I may have to go back to doing that first of all for work. That may
yeah,
be a thing, but even if it's not, it's how people are communicating with authors and editors and people now. So I'm going to have to
yeah,
exercise that muscle. So I'm like you. I kind of tried to go live a couple times, and then Tanya to the rescue. She kind of said, "Hey, so here's something. Here's a better way to do this." And she was really great, and we've got this thing going now. One thing I did is you don't really get to, as you found out, test out the live features until you're live, right? Like you have to actually be
yeah,
live to
yeah,
figure out what all the buttons and stuff are. So TikTok had just turned on its subscription for going live, and I'm not sure if everyone has it or if there's a follower cutoff or whatever it is. But I turned it on so that I could go in there and play around because I knew I had
yeah,
nobody subscribed, right? Like whenever I first did it,
yeah,
and so that's how I kind of get to experiment with that stuff. And that is a segue into me letting people know that yes, you can subscribe to to my lives. TikTok sets the amount, but if we ever get subscribers to that, there'll be like special subscriber only type of stuff.
Yeah.
Um, and as Tanya pointed out, what we the reason we started doing this book talk on book talk that we the title I came up with is because we're trying to promote indie authors and really get them connected with people. So we really hope
Yeah.
that everybody who is watching follows Elena and looks at her videos and checks out her books, because if Tanya endorses them, I have full confidence that you will enjoy it if it's in a genre that you read. And that's one of the great things about literature is there are different genres and there are different preferences and stuff. But at the same time, all writers know sort of the universal struggles we go through, but also the universal feelings we get when we finish something,
Yeah.
whenever we're really in the groove, and why we all do this. So some of my favorite chats are with authors, but they are also with the narrators, and we like to have a lot of voice actors on here too. So Tanya said that she
Oh,
did
thanks,
arc reads.
Tanya.
Yeah, that she did arc reads for you, and that's great. And that's another thing that TikTok has a lot of people willing to do that sort of work. And let's face it, if you're reading an advanced copy or you're doing a beta read for an author, that is work. That is time that you are taking out of your life
Yeah.
to do for someone else. And like for me, I get paid to read submissions for Blue Handle and also to edit other people's work. But I still, as author Ricky, not editor Ricky, I do still get people who want me to read their advanced copy so I can provide blurbs and newsletter swaps and stuff like that. And so, that's unpaid work. And, the TikTok community has been absolutely
Oh, thanks,
fantastic.
Tanya.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, Tanya was great for me because she came back with some really she really took the time to invest herself in the book and come back to me with some really great little bits of advice. And it's always helpful. I mean, I like to read reviews about my book. I mean, I'm very much of the opinion that reviews are for the readers. They're not for the authors. They're not there to validate me. They're there for other readers, but I do love to read through them just sometimes to give myself that bit of reassurance. Imposter syndrome is a nightmare, but Tanya was fantastic, and I really appreciate her spending the time and giving me the courage to come on today.
Yeah, great beta readers and people who are willing to give you good constructive notes and criticism are absolute gold. Because we all have
Yeah.
people we can give our work to. They can say, "Oh, that's great. I love that you wrote a novel and you're my best friend," or
Yeah,
we share a last name and we share DNA. We're on the same family tree, and
exactly.
good for you. And this is the best thing I've
Oh,
ever
thank
read.
you, Tanya.
And so we
Yeah,
all can find those people, but when you can find the people who will take and they will, and I always like to, there's a formula to giving feedback that people enjoy. It's the thing you liked up top, and then the middle is here's what I think you need to work on, and then you end it with another
yeah,
thing you really enjoyed. So when people are able to do that, and they're able to highlight the good and the bad, right? Because we also can
exactly,
probably
because
all
nobody's perfect.
and we can also think of people we can give our work to who will just tear it to shreds and only go negative. And that doesn't help either. Like, you're going to
No,
get information about what's not good, but you also aren't going to get information about what worked. And that is as
exactly.
useful as what does not work, because, like authors, a lot of times they will write something and they think, oh, I really like this. I wonder if a reader is going to understand what I did. It's kind of
Yeah,
the joke, like, see what I did there. And to get feedback that yes, I tried something, I tried a joke here, or I tried to um, you know um, say this with this chapter or with this section. And if you get that
yeah,
feedback that unsolicited, like you can ask specific questions, but if they just come back and say, oh, by the way, I love the way you ended this and how you brought it back to the beginning or whatever you did.
yeah,
And to get that feedback is very important, because okay, I did something readers are going to understand, and I can, that's solid, and I can leave that alone, and then I can work on the things over here. rather than
Exactly.
questioning, the entire book, if somebody gives you nothing but negative feedback. So yeah, finding
Exactly.
those people like Tanya and like really good beta readers and ARC readers and developmental editors is absolutely crucial. So
Absolutely.
it's getting late for you, and we're on an off day, and it's the end of everyone's work week. So I think
Yeah.
we're probably going to wrap it up here, maybe in like 10 minutes.
Yeah.
Is there anything that you want to tell potential readers about your books and your stories? Like, give us, do you have like an elevator pitch? Do you have, something um, uh, that you can tell people that will try to draw them in and get them to invest in your stories?
See, this is where I'm terrible at trying to
And see, and
promote
that's one
myself.
that's one reason I asked, because it's important to have that, right? And
Yes.
authors, until they learn that, they always struggle with it. So
Yes.
go ahead and just tell us what's exciting and what's good about your stories, and let everyone know.
Okay, so it's dark urban fantasy with a strong female character who will stand up to anybody and everybody. She's just as tough as the men, but she's got five fantastic males for you to choose from as you read along.
Oh, see, I like that, and what I like is that you're giving not only the basic genre information, but you're also giving a flavor for what type of stuff they're gonna experience with your main character.
Yeah,
And oh, Tanya has a PowerPoint presentation on her phone, which I have recently learned. Charles and I have learned that Hollywood is all about PowerPoint presentations and
oh,
pitch decks, they call them. So yeah,
yeah,
if you're already doing that, that's great. But I definitely had to develop that skill of the elevator pitch and writing what Hollywood calls a log line. Yeah, Charles was just saying, like, writing a log line.
yeah,
It is its own skill, and log lines are very much a Hollywood thing, but authors, I think, should research that and see, like, what kind of there's not an exact formula, but there is a little bit. And so I'll share that real quick. You always, when you want to get it down to one sentence, you have to, who is your main character? And even if you have a big cast, you have one character that the reader is supposed to invest in more, and they're usually the
yeah,
first person on the page, with the exception of some genres. If it's a spy conspiracy thriller, sometimes the first couple chapters, you meet a character, you learn how they die, and then you get to the bigger conspiracy.
yeah,
But for most of us out there writing, we're going to have one character that people should care about the most, the main character, and we have to know who that person is, succinctly, brief description. But more important is, what do they want in this
yeah,
story you've written? What is their goal? Because if they don't have a goal that they're striving for, then what is even the point of your book, right? Like, you have to
yeah,
think about it that way. And even if they have multiple goals, and they should have, in your actual story, they should have internal goals and external goals and things like that. But they should have one main desire, the one thing that if by the end of the book they feel that compulsion to get that thing. And then the third ingredient is, what is standing in their way. I love those lights, and I love that they're still
that
here,
was true.
because every time I see those, they're great, and I'm always worried they're going to take them away because they look like Christmas lights, but maybe that's not what they are. So that's awesome if they're here to stay. But yeah, so the third ingredient is, what is standing in their way, and that can be a traditional villain. It can be another person standing in their way. It can be nature. Like the classic,
Yeah,
man versus nature. That's one type of story you can write. Main character, plane crash. They need to get to civilization. They need to get to a place of safety, and what's standing in their way is, maybe it's the Bitterroot Mountains,
yeah,
maybe it's, the Sahara Desert, it can be that. So it doesn't have to strictly be good versus bad, superhero style, Captain America versus whatever villain he's facing. But, there has to be something big, a big hurdle that they have to get through in order to get that thing at the end. So if you can
yeah,
figure out what those three things are, and then you have to make it exciting, use action verbs, going back to your grammar school, elementary school days. But that's a skill, and if authors can work on that before, during, or after they write their story, because if you have a good concept, and and I love that little dog. and you know what that story is going to be about. You can write your log line before, and you can
Yeah,
have it up at the top of your document if you want. And if you feel like you're getting lost, you can say, "What was my story supposed to really be about?" I've had that
yeah,
happen a few times with different projects that I work on. Um, well,
yeah.
Tina, we are very glad that you are going to go check your books out, and that's the whole
Thank
point of
you.
what we're doing on here. Uh, so the last thing I'll ask is, Elena,
Yeah,
where can people find your books, and where can they find you online other than here on TikTok?
yeah. So they're available on Amazon.com, Amazon.co.uk as an ebook or as a paperback. And also, as we touched on, they're on Audible is the audio book for book one. Book two will be coming out shortly. I also have a website which is www.elenajanes.webador.co.uk, and that has information about me. There's a way to contact me. It's got all my books on there, and you can leave comments, and it's also got all the links that lead back to Amazon.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think that website link is on your TikTok profile, so people
Yes,
won't have
it
to
is.
memorize
Yeah,
that.
it's
Yeah,
in my bio.
yeah,
Yeah,
just
it's up
just
in
go
my
to her
bio.
profile, go to her bio, and
Yeah.
Tanya informs me that you do send out signed copies. Are you able to ship those overseas, or are those just for your
Um,
UK readers?
I haven't got signed copies at the moment. That's not something I'm doing at the moment, but it is something that I want to look into doing.
Okay,
Um, but I haven't got round to that part yet,
yeah, and
unfortunately.
we were talking about the business part. Well, Tanya says she got one, but you're reading an art. That's I think that's probably a little bit different, because when you try to sell signed copies, there are business stuff you have to go through. Like here in the United
Yeah,
States, we have to do like a sale. You know, we have to get a sales license, and you know you have to set up everything on your website. So that's
yeah,
but you know, well, don't be sorry, Tanya, because you know it's something you want to do, and I think a lot of authors are missing out on not necessarily a lot of financial gain, because I have not made millions of dollars selling signed copies. But what that allows you to do, make real connections with those readers, because you know that's something very special if you can get a signed copy and if it's dedicated,
yeah,
and you know those building up a fan base of those dedicated readers is how you grow your fan base, because word of mouth. And it also, from a business standpoint, we don't want to think of ourselves as commodities, but readers are
yeah,
future dollars, right? And like, if you're an
absolutely.
independent publisher, you have to think about that. And that's why
Yeah.
if you do you have a newsletter that people can sign up for when they go to your
That's
website?
something I'm actually looking into.
Yeah.
I haven't done a newsletter before. I'm not the most technical of person. I'm amazed I've even got as far as I have technology wise, but it is something that I'm looking into doing and potentially starting up. I do have a blog on Goodreads, but I can never find how I actually get back on it to write on it. So there is a little bit on there, but I need to get a bit more tech savvy.
Well,
Um,
yeah, my advice, to all authors would be have a newsletter, because TikTok can go away. Twitter, I haven't been
yeah,
on it in a long time because of reasons, but I mean, it could go away. Facebook and Instagram, as big as they are, they could go away. But having people's contact information that you can reach out to them directly through their email, that is the most valuable marketing
yeah,
tool you can have. So
absolutely.
I'm not gonna suggest anything, because I'm not sure what's available
No, it's
over there across the
I'm
pond. But
so going to look it. No, it's something I definitely want to look into
yeah,
doing. It's figuring out where to start with it. That is sort of where I'm at the moment, is trying to figure out, right, how do I get this newsletter out to people? What is the best way to create a newsletter?
hmm
And so I'm in the stages where I'm doing my research to find all of these things out. I mean, I've seen so many things on TikTok where authors have put about how helpful having a newsletter is. And it is something that I want to try and get started. I just need to figure out how.
yeah, and everybody comes up with their own style. One thing that Tanya said. The last thing I was going to leave people with is, you did your live where you did, where you were writing and showing that.
Yeah.
I'm always jealous of voice actors, because they can, if they get permission from the author, they can go live where they're reading live, and that is so much more interesting than me sitting here doing this on my computer. But Tanya points out that a lot of readers like it whenever they can see books being signed. on
Yeah,
videos and live. So if you're looking for ways to go live or content where you don't show your face, you could angle your camera if you have a stand, and you could show just your hand
yeah,
signing copies. That's another good way to get content. But we've been on for an hour. It is
yep,
1 a.m. your time, so I'm gonna let you go. Thanks for everybody
yep.
who came on, and thanks for the gifts, especially
Thank you very
Harper,
much.
whoever it was that sent the whale. That was incredible. And I hope it didn't cost you too much money, but we love every cent of it. And thank you. I will be back Wednesday, normal time, 7 p.m. Central. And if go follow Elena, go check out her page, go check out her website, because we need to make sure that she can continue to build up her small business, as all of us indie authors are.
Yeah, well, thank you very much for having me, Rick. I really enjoyed
All right.
coming
Thanks,
in, and
Elena. Thanks,
take
Tanya.
care.
Thanks,
Thanks very much.
everybody. And
Bye.
have a good weekend, everyone.
And you, take care.
Bye.